Hi, it's Guy Arnold, and I'm here to talk to you as briefly as possible, but as helpfully as possible, about the win-win agreement and how to actually use it to get great results in interpersonal communications. It's a classic tool from the world's best-selling self-improvement material, Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And the purpose of the win-win agreement is to give you a structure to put into place to take action with habits 4, 5 and 6. Habit 4, think win-win, how you get it in your mindset. Habit 5, seek first to understand and then to be understood. And habit 6, to synergize, to come up with what Covey calls third alternatives. Right away from the my way or your way to our way, a better way. How, if we work together constructively, we can always find better ways. And these are the absolute key tools and ideas of the long-standing peacekeeping agreement in Northern Ireland, for example, the peace and reconciliation process in South Africa, etc., etc. There's loads and loads of examples in this book particularly, so I strongly recommend this one, The Third Alternative, of putting these ideas into practice at home, at work, in school, in relationships, in the law, in society, etc., etc. So it's really powerful stuff. Because the problem is, what we're going to do with these 3, the first video is a general outline of how to use a win-win agreement. And as you can see, I'm recording this live, and excuse any stutters or slight sort of pauses, and I will try and get through this as quick as possible to make it as easy as possible for you to understand the process, because it's a really complicated process, but really simple to understand but complicated to put into practice. And it's hugely misunderstood. So many people get this massively wrong, and it really is a crime that this isn't well known, it isn't used well, and is not taught in schools. So the purpose of this is to be as helpful as possible. So this first video, general introduction. The second video is going to be how to use win-win agreements in a reactive situation. When someone comes up to you and says, "I'd like to discuss something with you. Have you got 2 minutes?" You know, that dreadful moment when you think, oh my God, don't know what's going to happen next. And the third one is how to use it proactively to get great results in any situation. Okay, so this is the general one. Okay, the first thing is it's habits 4, 5 and 6, as we've discussed. Habit 4, think win-win. Get your mind in the right place first. Okay, habit 5, seek first to understand, then to be understood. And habit 6, to synergize. And the starting point for all of the 7 habits is habit 1, be proactive, and habit 2, begin with the end in mind. And that is the essence of habit 4 here. You have to be proactive in order to get yourself under control, to think win-win. And you have to begin with the end in mind, thinking win-win. The end in mind is win-win. You want a solution that is better than either of you would come up with on your own, and that both of you will be committed to for the long term and work towards. Or if you can't get to that at the moment, you go for what's called a no deal today. In the Covey material, it's just called no deal, but I just call it no deal today because that implies that you're leaving the door open for future discussions, future agreements, future working together. Okay, so what we're looking for, the end in mind here, is win-win or no deal today. Right, so what does win-win mean? Okay, and we often talk about this. What does win mean? Okay, so before we go into that, this is the win-win matrix. So you have you here and me here, okay? What happens if I win and you lose? It's a win-lose situation for me, but it's a lose-win for you. You are not going to feel committed to that output. You're going to resent it, and it's going to be a long-term disaster for us. It's going to take us long-term to lose-lose, okay? Lose-lose, sorry. What happens if you win and I lose? Same thing in reverse. You're going to think, yeah, I got it right, I got it done, I nailed Guy on that. But I'm going to feel not committed to it at best and resentful at worst. So, of course, the only outcome that any of us ever want in any situation, be it a personal communication, be it a project plan, be it a customer and a business, that has to be win-win. Be it any person dealing with another person, that's basically everything in life. It must be a win-win, otherwise neither of us are going to be committed to it for the long term. Now, win-win, sometimes people say, well, let's just go to a compromise. Well, I'd say a compromise is not a win-win. A compromise is a compromise. Win-win means you plus me equals extra neither of us could do on ourselves. 1 plus 1 equals 3, 4, 5, 10. Compromise is 1 plus 1 equals 1.5 at best. You can go for a compromise in the middle. Let's have a compromise for now with the aim of continuing on towards the win-win. And that is very much the same as no deal today. It's no long-term final deal today. It's a compromise today, but we're not stopping there. We're not going to stop on the compromise. We're going to live with this not perfect solution for today, and we're going to keep working together at some time in the future to agree between us to get to this genuine win-win outcome. So it's very, very important to remember it's not a compromise. Okay, so how do you get to win-win, and what does win-win mean? So what does win-win mean, first of all? What does win mean? When we talk the 7 habits, we say to people, habit 2, begin with the end in mind. And we say to them, imagine it's 3 years from now and it's your funeral and you're getting back to witness your own funeral. There's going to be 3 speeches, 1 from a member of your family, 1 from a work colleague, and 1 from someone in the community. Now, your task now is to write those speeches. What sort of things would you want these people to say about you in 3 years' time? And that, of course, then brings us to what true win means for each of us. And it's very personal, but it's usually very similar things when people talk about these on the sessions that we run on the 7 habits. It's usually things like honesty, diligence, kindness, intelligence, caring, loving, relationships, and all those sort of things. There's the soft skills, the things that really matter to people. You know, if I said to you, who won the 100 meters at the Olympics 5 years ago, you'd probably not know. But if I said to you, who was your favorite teacher at school, who really inspired you to do great things, you will remember that for the rest of your life. So it's the soft skills, it's these really valuable soft things that make all the difference to people and get all the results in life over the long term. So what win means is sticking to those soft skills. In fact, I'd suggest to you it means 3 things. Number 1, it means you, in this process, stick to your values and your principles in life. You keep clear on your end in mind, the long-term end in mind. Number 1. Number 2 is you genuinely build a relationship with the other person because you're listening to them empathically and valuing them as an individual, as a human being sharing this earth, which is exactly what they are. It doesn't matter whether you agree with them or disagree with them. We are all human beings sharing this earth, and we depend on each other for our long-term benefit. And thirdly, it means that by valuing each other and sticking to your own values and principles, you have a hugely enhanced ability to get to higher alternatives, third alternatives, better examples, right? You get out of the your way or my way, my way, continual fighting, blue versus red, left versus right, man versus woman, whatever. You know, you get out of that into this, how can we work more effectively together, respecting that we have different points of view, so that we can create a much higher third alternative that is going to benefit us both. That is the true win. Now, what is a win-win agreement? A win-win agreement is 6 things. First thing, it's I-D-R-G-R-A-C. Dr. Grack. Easiest way to remember it is Dr. Grack. So if you're reading this, if you've seen me training, if you've downloaded my free material, you'll have this information, Dr. Grack. And all Dr. Grack is it's a structure. It's like a skeleton. And the skeleton holds it in place, holds things rigidly, and makes sure everything is dealt with. It's up to you to put the flesh on the skeleton. And all it does is it makes sure that you consider every single issue to get to this win-win agreement. The intent, which is, what is the big picture? What are my values? What are my principles? What are my what are the long-term goals here? What's the big intent here? What is the non-hidden agenda? What is the open? How can I be completely transparent and open with you? What's the intent? The desired results is, what are we trying to achieve? What are the things, the actual factual outputs that we need to achieve in this situation? G, guidelines. Guidelines is, what are the ideas? What plans could we do? Resources is the next one. Resources is time, people, money, and other. What resources do we have available? Who could we get other resources from? And what else other resources might we need, and where are we going to get them from? Moving on, the next one is accountability. Accountability is, this is very, very important and so often not done, almost always not done. It's so vital, which is, how are we going to keep each other accountable? How are we going to measure progress? When are we next going to review progress? And what are we going to do moving forward onto consequences with the progress? Accountability. And then lastly, consequences. What are the consequences? And it's vital here to consider the consequences of success and the consequences of failure. Now, most people only say, well, if it goes wrong, we'll do this. But actually, let's think about if it goes right, first of all. So if this goes well, what can we do? And if this doesn't go well, or we don't do what we actually said we were going to do, what will the consequences of that be? What are we going to do then? And the consequences, for the sake of completeness, can be split into two areas. There's going to be natural consequences. So if I don't go to the gym, the natural consequence is I will not be as fit as I would have been if I had gone to the gym. And then the other consequence is social consequence, which is the made up stuff that we have in our whole world. The social consequences of going to the gym is that I might not look as good in my swim shorts, so my wife might laugh at me. I don't know. Or I might feel ashamed because I didn't do what I committed to. So it's the natural consequences. I did not explain that very well. The social consequences is what happens in the social system that will come. Or maybe the social consequence of not going to the gym, maybe my wife will be angry with me. That's a better social consequence. It's something that happens because of the rules we've made up between us, or the way we organise things. Okay, so the way to do a win-win agreement is, number one, habit 4, think win-win. To remember what your true win is, to get yourself under control, to be proactive, to be responsible, to begin with the end in mind, and to be absolutely in control of yourself first. Because if you are not in control of yourself first, you think, all right, well, I'm going to try one of these win-win agreements to see if I can get this outcome from them. I say I'm going to try a win-win agreement to get a win-lose result. I'm going to try one of these win-win agreements, but I don't think I'm going to win because my wife is always bossing me around. It's trying a win-win agreement with a lose-win mindset. Not going to work. Okay, so you need to have this win-win mindset in your mind. So you really step back and you really count to 10, take deep breaths, and remember what your own values and principles are. What is your real win? You get a grip of yourself. Okay, and then you also want to know what the true win is for them, so that you want to build the relationship, you want to stick to your principles, and you want to, through that, come up with third alternatives. And the way to do that is to move on to the next habit, which is called seek first to understand and then to be understood. I'm just checking my notes here. Now, the best way to seek first to seek first to understand and then to be understood is to get agreement on the intent and desired results, and possibly some accountability and consequences, i.e. the big picture. Let's get a little bit of agreement on the big picture. What's our intent here? What results are we looking for? How are we? What's our sort of time scale, accountability, and what sort of things will happen if we get this agreed, and what sort of things will happen if we don't? Let's agree on that first of all, and then let's fill in the guidelines and resources. So let's do it, and we do it by seeking first to understand and then to be understood. And the best way to do that is, number one, have some blank paper. So I carry this around with me all the time. He says, opening it upside down. Carry it around with me all the time. Blank paper, no lines on it, okay? And the second thing I have here is a 4-colour pen. For those of you who can't hear that, it's a 4-colour pen. Blue, black, green, red, okay? The point of a 4-color pen is I want to be able to do mind maps. So there's my desired results perhaps, and so there's my intent, okay, and then some guidelines could be here, etc. Now, what I would do is I write facts in black. Here's the facts. Some facts, there's some time, there's some resources, etc. I write opinions in blue. There are some opinions already there. I write ideas for good ideas, opportunities, positive ideas in green, and I highlight or write down problems, issues that people have in red. Okay, so it becomes a really easy map to work and to find out. So you can keep cross-referencing, know where you are all the time. So if you're not familiar with mind maps, I strongly recommend you have a look at mind maps. Fantastic books on mind maps by a guy called Tony Buzan. Alternatively, give us a shout and we can send you some links or coach you on the phone on mind maps. But what we got, so what we're doing now is we've got blank paper, we've got a 4-color pen, and we've got the ability to mind map. And what we then do is we want to listen. We've agreed perhaps some desired results and intent, we've agreed some accountability consequences. We want to listen and say, well, what do you think? How would you see that going? Where do you see some issues? What sort of outcomes might suit you best? Who do you think could help with that? When do you think that's going to matter most? What sort of consequences are going to suit you, etc. And what you may have noticed there, if you were paying attention, is that those are all open questions. Who, what, where, when, how, and which. So use those 6 open questions to peel the onion, peel the layers away from the onion, because you're seeking first to understand, okay, and you're taking your notes on your blank paper with your 4-color pen. And the one open question to avoid is why. And the reason for that is why is too big a question. So if you said to someone, well, why do you want that? Actually, the only real answer to that is a really big, long history of their life. Or why did you do that? It sounds like a criticism. Why did you do that? It's a criticism. My wife doesn't say to me, what were the main issues that caused you to leave the washing up undone in the sink? Why didn't you do the washing up? Okay? And so why is a criticism and why is too big? So avoid why. Okay. So you've got open questions, you've got blank paper, you've got the 4-color pen, you're peeling the onion, okay, and then you want to reflect. Okay, reflect back. So this is when they have said something, you want to reflect back, say, so what you are saying is that you want to do this and you feel this way about it and you're a bit concerned about this. So you're using a you message to reflect back what they have said and what you have heard, putting the emotions on the table so that they feel really heard. Okay? What will happen then is they'll either say, yes, that's exactly right, now tell me what you think, but more likely they'll say, yes, that's pretty good, but there's more, there's this, there's that, there's the other. So you go round and round and round this circle until you get to action plans that you can either agree on or possibly compromises for the short term, i.e. no deal todays, so that you can move forward to win-wins over the long term. Okay? So you go round and round and round until you then wait for them to invite you to put your point of view in. And this can take a long time. So this can be very quick. You're going to get a breakthrough in a few minutes, or it can take a while. I mean, it can take years to get a breakthrough in some circumstances. Just see the situation of Nelson Mandela, 27 years to get a breakthrough in South Africa. And the point is, though, that I have done this for hundreds, probably thousands of couples, groups, where they've been wrangling on not being able to agree on things for months or even years, and literally within an afternoon, we have got to breakthroughs. Breakthroughs between people, breakthroughs in strategy, breakthroughs in plans, commitments where there wasn't a commitment, reconciliations, and all those sort of things. This can all happen if you stick to the rules. Our mothers and our fathers and daughters who've been at war for years and years and years, businesses that have been struggling with getting people motivated, divorce, quite a few people have divorced using this process to do a win-win divorce. That's not as mad as it sounds. Just because you're getting divorced Doesn't mean to say you need to fall out with each other and make life miserable for each other. That's madness. Let's accept that you're going to get divorced and do it in a win-win way so that you both move forward with a better relationship because you're not married and you're dealing with things more openly and more successfully and more effectively. Okay, so this thing goes round and round and round till eventually you agree the I dot to graph. You're clear on the intent, you agree the desired results, you agree the guidelines, you agree the resources, you agree the accountability, and you agree the consequences. And that's it. You know, it's just a question of listening and having the right tools and reflecting and just being, when you're doing the listening, you're working on yourself. You're keeping yourself under control. You must not interrupt. You must not advise. You must not probe. You must not interpret. You must not evaluate. You need to be quiet. One mouth, two ears, used in that frequency, so that you're listening much more than you're talking. You're asking fantastic open questions to peel the onions. You're really building a relationship. You're sticking by your own principles. And through all of that, you're working your way up to win-win in this fantastic situation. So that is the basics of the win-win agreement. I thoroughly recommend it. I think it's the most effective communication tool in the world by miles. There's lots of communication stuff out there and they're all useful. There's lots of useful stuff out there, but I would suggest they all can fit in to the win-win structure. You know, here's the latest thing in communication. Oh yeah, very interesting. But it needs to fit into this win-win structure. Why does it need to fit into this win-win structure? Because the win-win structure is common sense. It's timeless, effective, self-evident principles of common sense. So next video, we're going to talk about how to do a win-win agreement in a reactive situation. Thank you.